Good morning, world. How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing on the 29th of April, 2025? Here, let's just get a little smoke going. Ooh, guys, I'm not gonna lie. I woke up really early. Well, I started to get deep in the feels last night, which was good because it forced me. Well, it didn't force me. I took that opportunity to look at my feelings and to actually spend time with it and to understand things, because I know for myself, I caught myself last night. I was like acting on default. I didn't realize it, but I was so worked up. I'd gone for this jog and for a walk to my favorite spot, and I was in such a good mood. And then, like, I don't know, towards the end of the evening, my mood really shifted. And I realized part of it was kind of the halt syndrome: hungry, angry, lonely, tired. So like there's definitely things where I was like, okay, in the slice of life here, it's like I could untangle it. But then I realized I was about to like act out something, which was so stupid, but it was like really like subconsciously, but I caught it and I was like, everything's always an opportunity to be like, is this who I want to be in the world? And in that moment, I was like, no, it's not. And I can't believe I didn't catch this sooner. So I woke up at the crack of dawn, which is great. And I made the mistake of going on social media, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. But the first thing I saw, which was beautiful, it moved me, and then it went another direction. But I'd like to share with you. This is what I mean by grace. And you really see it in like restorative justice. I've seen a few instances of like cases of restorative justice where grace being in action has just moved me. Anyway, so on Instagram, someone was sharing this story about how this man had killed someone in this particular family, and the family of the man, and it was the men on that side of his family, all of these men showed up and they knelt in the streets outside of the home of the family of the person who was murdered. And these men were weeping and basically in supplication. It was just so moving. I can just think of so many instances where a family member or someone close to someone has done something egregious. And again, instead of extending out to the person's family or the person that's been harmed, it's like the pack mentality. And I just thought it was even more beautiful because men do enact most of the violence that we see. And to see, and it was older generations, all of these men from the family coming together, I don't know, and to just kneel in the street, and they were all weeping, and then the family came out. It was just, this is what I mean by grace. Like, grace never fails to move me. And if I look at my two kind of energetic states, I was in such a bad mood last night. Oh, I was on a real tear. Now, mind you, I could untangle a lot of it to like, was I hungry? Abso-fucking-lutely. Was I tired? Yes. Was there a couple other things in there that could be in the halt? For sure. But as soon as grace enters my heart, it's just like a total paradigm shift. So I would extend that to you. I also, again, I don't go on social media a ton. I really have tried I've deleted Facebook off. Instagram, I only go on maybe every couple days, if that. Sometimes I go in little pockets. I do choose to follow mostly artists and activists and spiritual people that I really respect, but as is such, a lot of times some stuff sneaks in there. Anyway, I also found this page. It's not a lot of people I love on it, but there was this one priest. He's from the Coptic Orthodox, which is the Ethiopian division of Christianity. Anyway, he had two really beautiful stories. And in the first one, again, he caught himself. He was saying that one day after they had been feeding the homeless and had been giving out all of like the fresh clothing and giving them the meals, that there was one gentleman that had, I think, showed up afterwards. And he said that this person was a little bit differently abled and had a hard time communicating fully. So he was really limited in the words that he could use. So he approached this priest and he kept saying, "Dollar, dollar, dollar." And the priest said, he admitted, he said, I was judgmental. And he was like, he talked about his inner process of like, if I make a precedent and give him $1 today, he's going to come back tomorrow and want $2, and he was just talking about his process of judgment. And he kept saying to the gentleman, like, no, he's like, I can't give you $1, but he's like, if you want more food, I can go get some food for you. If you need some clothing, I'll go get some clothing for you. And the gentleman just kept saying like, dollar, dollar, dollar. And they go back and forth on this for a bit. And eventually, this man pulled out his wallet and he had $1 note. And what he wanted to do was donate his last dollar. Again, I'm in a real... Oh, the tides of emotion are running high in me today. It's definitely hormones. I call it, this is like a weepy Wednesday for me. I'm very moved. I'm all over the place today. I'm not gonna lie, guys. But I love it because the priest caught himself. And I really like this priest. I didn't like the other priests that were being interviewed on this channel, to be honest. Not that I didn't like them. I didn't like their messages. I don't know enough about them to judge, but I didn't love their messages. But this priest got me interested enough to look up his church. And then I realized that they have a church in Montreal. I looked at their church. It seems a bit stuffy. I don't think I can go attend a service. But I was so moved. He reminded me of my grandma. I'm not usually moved by the church, but when someone really exemplifies, who like truly takes to heart the teachings of Jesus, not the church, just Jesus, because Jesus is my man. The church and I, we're separate. Church and state we're not, even though there's a lot of things about churches, like I love cathedrals. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. Anyway, but then this priest told another story about the church of Zaytun, and how the story goes is that there was a rich merchant or an affluent man in that area, and he received a vision or a message from Mother Mary. And apparently the story goes is she said to him, if you build a church in my name in this exact location, I will come back at some point and visit. So he did. So then, between 1968, I think it was April 2nd of 1968, she started to appear. You can look it up. I looked up the photo myself. And she came several times. I think the priest said it was over a period of 3 years. The internet is wild and it's retelling of things. But this priest said, he was like, listen, he's like, I'm of the generation. He's like, if you're from that region, you will know people, because he was hundreds of thousands of people. Some purport it was millions of people, because she kind of came in kind of like enough chunks at people. As soon as, when you see the photographs, like there is some pretty, I don't know, it does seem pretty miraculous. But I also just thought, like, these are the kind of stories though where, like, again, sometimes when I struggle with faith, where I'm like Mother Mary, like Jesus, God at the burning bush, like, why the rich merchant that day? Like, these are the things where I'm like, and then you just decide to show up in 1968 for a few visits. I don't understand these stories. It's so... Now, the only thing I don't love about this, though, is that they talked about how, like, it converted a lot of Muslims to Christianity. But what I liked about this particular priest, and I think he's a bit of an anomaly. Sorry, I'm going on a bit of a tangent here. But what I liked about him is that, oh, he used a term that I have to rewrite down. I remember it starts with a TH. But basically, part of his prayer, though, and of his church, though, is that all faiths, he says more churches, but for me, I am interpreting that all of the world's faiths come together as one, as a whole, that we all have different pieces of the same goddamn fucking puzzle, and no one needs to be fucking killing each other and fucking going on about their weird bullshit. Anyway, the church is complicated, and also because I was raised in indigenous communities where colonialism and churches and violence and murder and rape against indigenous people and all kinds of people, the history of the church, and then witches, it's not pretty. It's not cute and demure. But I do love Jesus, and I do love things about the church in some respects. And I do love a cathedral. Architecture just gets me. I just love cathedrals. Places of worship, really, I don't know. I think I probably spent a lot of time as a monk in that respect. Sorry, I keep looking at this giant crane that they just set up across the street. I keep seeing big pieces of furniture and like weird stuff in the sky. It's not Mother Mary, I can tell you right now. That last thing looked like a sofa. Okay. Well, God, we're at 12 minutes. Okay, well, let's get a quick... Oh yeah, the other word, so grace, but discipline. Because I'm about to go for a jog. I was listening to someone talk about discipline. It's not about like the actual like results. It's about the actual act of doing something at times that you don't necessarily want to do. But like... every time I do my exercises, like, man, I just bumped out a whole bunch of push-ups and did some squats and some stretches. I'm gonna go for my jog. And even in terms of spirituality, it's like discipline, which also disciple is made out of. Okay, well, let's see. Spirits. Mother Mary. Okay, Mother Mary. Let's call you in. Mother Mary, do you have a message? This one. This one. This one. You want that one too? Okay. Okay, 5 cards it is, Mother Mary. Whatever you want, baby girl. Okay. Ooh, the shadow. Yes. I've been working a lot with my shadow. Agape. The shadow is agape. Ooh. Apocalypsis. Yes. And that's going right under shadow. Kairos. Yes. Look at that beautiful eye. And that's going under agape. And the colors are kind of matching here. The blue and blue. And then we have the 1. Oh, Mother Mary, I'm very excited. You're speaking my kind of language. Let's get into it. Okay. The shadow. Ooh. 117. Let's do this. The unspeakable, the unwelcome, the denied. Although every card in the archetype deck has a shadow potential, this card asks us to delve into the qualities of the shadow itself. We often think that the shadow can be purified, illuminated, and made right through effort and achievement. However, it is typically the case that our lofty pursuit of ascension and perfection is the very source of shadow material itself. Yeah, mama. Yeah. By rejecting parts of ourselves and the world, we begin to separate from the whole. What was I just saying about faiths and religions? Rather than getting to know the qualities and content of our shadow, we busy ourselves with avoiding its presence. This is denial. You know what else they say? Denial ain't just another river in Egypt. When this card appears, it is time to take inventory of those things you've been denying. When the mind responds with no, anything but that, you are touching shadow. Find support for this deep inner work and move toward the shadow with patience and compassion. In the shadow of the gods are the very gods themselves. Reflect on the statement by James Hillman in A Blue Fire. What do you despise about yourself? By answering, you move towards the shadow. Oh, I want to cry again. Oh, I think the shadow needs a hug. I think the shadow needs a snuggie. Contemplate the following scientific observation. The closer an object, a person, place, or community, is to light, the longer the shadow casts. Exactly. Oh, that's a whole reading I've been meaning to do unto itself. Okay, I think that'll be the next one. That's a great one. Yes. I'm going to do that one tonight. We're going to get witchy. Okay. Love that. Now, how do I want to read? Do I want to go from shadow to apocalypsis, or do we want to go... We'll go agape. Okay. 211. Oh yeah. Devotion, unconditional love. Devotion and discipline, those two go together. I have to write this down. Yeah. I'm going to be doing less love readings for a bit and more this kind of stuff for a bit. What if instead of putting yourself at the center of your spiritual practice, you put God, goddess, or nature at the center? How would this change your approach? Such is the energy of agape. It is alive when we are in awe and wonder, our breath taken away by the sacred force that surrounds us and asks for nothing in return. This card can indicate a spiritual initiation that stretches your capacity to love and serve. You sense the earthly as the heavenly and vice versa. Such an initiatory moment can appear in any form, and, like a healing balm to the modern soul, its effects last a lifetime. The agape card may also suggest you reassess what you worship every day, consciously or unconsciously. What are you elevating? Where does the sacred ladder you climb ultimately lead to? When light, service, reverence, honor, joy. When dark, spiritual bypassing, righteousness. The Greek word agape informs the English word agape. To have the mouth agape is to be awestruck by something of breathtaking delight. We are made humble once again. Agape can also be felt as an overwhelming love of family, partner, community. Recognize it by a deep swell of gratitude. Yeah, I felt that way. I've been going to the cemetery. I spend a lot of time in the cemetery, but now that all the snow is gone and I can actually sit. Yeah, there's just something sitting in nature, but because I'm sitting literally with dead people, it's a great place to meditate because it's so peaceful. But like all of those names, like I'm not going to be here one day, sooner than later. Like all of those people had lives, people they loved, the same kind of issues that I have, maybe slightly different. And like one day I'm not going to be here. One day we're all not going to be here. And just sitting under my favorite tree, and all the birds and like everything just kind of. And I like to do this practice where observing without naming, feeling without naming. Like when was the last time you spent time looking but without naming? Like instead of being like, oh, I'm talking into my phone right now, just like looking. It's an interesting practice. I really like it myself. Yeah, devotion, unconditional love. Yeah, the things we worship. Apocalypses. 250. Removing the veil of deception. Apocalypsis indicates a particularly painful time, the one that we're currently in. One that unfolds when two disparate, am I saying it right? Disparate dynamics occur. It's not desperate, it's D-I-S-P-A-R-I-T, disparate. You know when you read a word, but then you realize you don't say it out loud often enough to know if you're saying it correctly? Disparate dynamics occur simultaneously, pulling the psyche in seemingly opposing directions. The first is a lifting of the veil. This means truths that have been kept in the dark are revealed, seen, and unearthed. No matter how relieving it is to witness them come into the light, an element of despair and grief follows. The second dynamic is the regeneration that comes from the wreckage of the revealed truth. The old narrative breaks and a new story forms. Apocalypsis energy is similar to a forest fires. Devastation for the sake of regeneration. The veil lifts and we see who and what has been hiding. From the nakedness of the truth, a child is born. Have faith in the process. Hold on to your center. That is the only way. This card has a strong relationship to Aletheia. If both cards appear in one reading, you've got some real uncovering to do. Take heed. All kinds of things will be revealed during a time of apocalypsis, from big global lies to little white ones that lace the bedroom sheets. Brace yourself for the horse of truth to storm your every field. Oh, I love that line. Brace yourself for the horse of truth to storm your every field. Oh God, I fucking love Kim Krans so much. There's nothing she doesn't do. I follow her on Instagram. I just find her as a multidisciplinary artist myself, and I'm really loving. There's another painter I follow. It's like when work is like both spiritual and maybe not obviously spiritual, but I mean, I think all art is spiritual. I don't know. But man, just this deck alone, this deck just moves me. What a brilliant, brilliant artist. I'm so glad they exist. Kairos. Mythic time, synchronicity. We have all had the experience of timelessness, of life beyond the ticking of the clock. It may be felt as time standing still, slow motion, or losing track of time on a walk or in a lovely conversation. This is known as mythic time, and it is the territory of Kairos. This card suggests that there is a secondary time continuum that goes beyond any earthly clocks and schedules. Within this nonlinear realm, we access divine timing. A single moment ripens with auspiciousness, and our actions change the trajectory of our whole life. Time becomes a living thing that watches over us and tells us precisely when to speak or act. When this card appears, it is all about patience and precision. No clock can guide you. Wait for the rush of inner knowing and not a moment longer. Compare the Greek word chronos and kairos. This will guide you to an understanding of logos and mythos. The word evil comes from the root unripe. Consider that everything has a time of ripeness, when it becomes a nourishing fruit, sweet to the lips. Okay, let me go to the one. The one. Non-duality, one love, unus mundus. Our ability to experience this archetype firsthand is limited. It comes in brief and potent moments that we are left to savor for a lifetime. Truth. The one is both the energy that unites all living beings and our capacity to sense this intimate union. This archetype eludes us most of our lives, appearing as a concept in a distant galaxy. Yet, when we are in the midst of its power, a solemn reverence falls across all the land. We glimpse ourselves in the vastness of all consciousness and are neither small nor large within that field. We are neither important nor unimportant. All duality fades away, and we are left with what is, the precious knowing that life is a gift. And we are both the giver and the receiver of this fortune. The unus mundus is a circle representing the unity of existence. It is possible that the beginning and the end of all things is love. It is said that Om is the primordial sound of the universe, and that all other mantras are born from it. Simply imagining this possibility will activate the one. Omming literally saw me through a couple winters. Up until just recently when my car died, I was driving, realistically, like, again, not hyperbole here, 80,000 to 100,000 kilometers a year. Lots of driving. And besides singing and sometimes screaming, hours of omming. And I will say, it's a good one. And a few spiritual teachers have said, like, if the only thing that you can do besides some breath work is doing some omming, like, it's a great foundation that will carry you through. And I do use that one quite a bit in my arsenal. Yeah, right before I hopped on here, thinking of apocalypsis, and we are really in a time right now. Yeah, there's just things that are not lost on me that I follow, that I, as a human, but this gentleman, who's also a spiritually minded person, but was just talking about the tyrants of the world. But again, any of these spiritual teachings, as above, so below, the micro and the macro, the hermetic laws, like, it doesn't matter which law you look at from any teacher. It's like, hermetics are kind of easy to follow because they apply through many spiritual teachings, but the microcosm and the macrocosm, And he was just saying, like, going back to shadow, all these things that we hate about other people, like even narcissists, NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. I've had to look into my own life to be like, okay, I don't have NPD, but the qualities that these people have, not qualities, disorder, but like, when too have I been a taker? When too have I been manipulative? When too have I told a lie? Again, not to the extent like this people, it's a pathology. And one where they don't actually ever really want to change for the most part. But going back to shadow work, as Jesus said, like, man, you're pointing out the splinter in one person's eye to avoid the beam in your own eye. You know, when one finger's pointing this way, 3 fingers are pointing back this way. I caught myself doing something last night that the person who birthed me clearly taught me. And again, it was subconscious. And I remember being a little kid. I remember the bathroom. I remember our bathroom because I remember at that moment in the bathroom being like, I will never be like my mother. And we do become our parents because also things are modeled to us. And sometimes things are really subconscious. But it was a great opportunity for me to be catching myself doing something where I was like, oh, this is something that I absolutely have learned from this person, but also that I don't find very respectful. It's not very becoming. It's not terrible. Like, wasn't a terrible thing, but I was just like, it's like, it was enough for me to be like, is this how an empress or an emperor comes in? Is this who I want to be? No. No, there are definitely things that I hate about my family members that I have not done. Like, I'm not an abuser. I have not sexually abused, I have not sexually assaulted someone, and I have not beat someone. I have not gaslit someone, and I have not protected abusers over my children. So there are things that I'm like, well, but it's still important to do the list of look at all the people that really fucking grate your fucking nerves, that you hate or dislike or you just cannot stand, and to literally write out what is it, what are the feelings that come up for you around this person, and also how would you describe them. Look at those words and see if you cannot apply it to somewhere in your life. Somewhere, you know? Yeah, it's an interesting time. I just can't stress the importance of getting quiet. And every time I get into a state, this is why you have to practice devotion and discipline, because you want to practice when life isn't bananagrams so that you have these resources. Because in the last couple days where I've been really kind of worked myself into a state that isn't really conducive or productive, I at least have, it's like muscle memory. I just get myself outside. So instantly it's like fresh air or something at least kinetic and nature. And as soon as I was just sitting in the cemetery and just quiet, and it was just beautiful. And I took my socks off, got those freedom toes out, did some grounding, had my hands on the earth, and all the little birds were around me, and the wind was blowing just right. And I didn't think about anything other than just observing. And I was peaceful. And sometimes it's going to be like this, because then I was peaceful. And then I continued on, and then I got worked up again. Now, I could have just stayed worked up, but for some reason, I was cognizant enough to catch myself and be like, okay, where is this anger coming from? Like, what is this really about? So again, kind of entangling. Okay, yes, we are hungry. So we already know I get super fucking bitchy when I'm like classic Gemini. I usually will go way past the point of hunger, and then I get blood sugary and really hangry. But then I got to the source, and what I realized is that part of it was just like I wasn't getting something in the time frame that I wanted it. And I was like, okay. And then seeing how I wanted to react. You know, like there's just stuff. So devotion, discipline, and I keep coming back to this. I know I said this in another reading, but in regards to my anger, because again, I was thinking about the person who birthed me. I keep wrestling with it. I come to grips with it some days and I make peace. And some days I just don't. But it always comes back to the volume of anger is to the degree of which a part of you felt it has not been heard. And then that makes a lot of sense. And so it just comes back to like me, that inner child work of just really being like, in my walk last night, I walked for miles, because that's what I do when I get all, I mean, I do that for every emotion. I just find it pleasurable. I love walking. I walk till the cows come home. But it's like, I can't get the systems, the justice system, these people to hear me. So I can only be the person to give myself the platform to be like, I see you and I hear you. Like, I hear you. I'm here in this moment. And get it out. And if you think about children, why children are so emotionally healthy and regulated is because they just get it out at full volume. They get it all out, the full expression. Now, we think it's normal because they're kids, but then we kind of stamp it out and then we go, okay, well, that's not appropriate. But like, really? But then they get it out and then it's done. It's discharged. But when we repress things, or we have, again, institutions and systems and people, especially in families, like when there's trauma and things get squashed down, it's just like, it's a big mess. And so you have these parts of yourself that are just vying to be heard. But we tend to look, again, externally for things to validate, to be like, I hear you, I see you, you exist, you're important, you're worthy, you're valuable, you're cherished, you know? And at the end of the day, you're the only person that can give that to yourself. So, anyway, that's today's thoughts, reflections. I gotta go put some food in my tummy because I'm very hungry and I want to go get more exercise in and be a part of this world. I just can't stress enough how much the COVID years and being a parent, I was the stay-at-home parent during COVID. There was just so much isolation, like years of isolation, as I'm sure we can all remember. Isn't it crazy that the world's just kind of back to normal? Anyway, it's not lost on me. And I love summertime evenings in the city. It's some of my favorite times. I love walking for hours and like the crickets and like the beautiful glow of lights and yeah, kids playing in the streets and couples and friends sitting on park benches and parks and people riding their bikes. Life. Because right now, a lot of life is being destroyed. And we are probably at the most insane level of tyrannical oppression and decimation right now. But the two have always coexisted. And so we must not ever forget how to laugh and love and celebrate and to be here by defiance. It's our God-given right. So on that note, let's give thanks for today, for all that we have, because you never know when the wheel's gonna turn, and all we have is each other. And when I want the best for you, it means that I can allow the best for myself. Right here, right now. Thank you for this day. Thank you for my life. Thank you for my clarity. Thank you for my son. I ask that everyone today on this planet know peace, know food in their belly, clean water, true companionship, real love, and laughter from the guts, safety and protection. Thank you, water. I ask that everyone in the collective, PS, be kept safe, that all of us on this planet are kept safe, loved, and protected from all accident, injury, harm, violence, malevolence, the tyrants, and that everyone's hearts truly awaken and remember. Thank you, water. All right, collective. All right, world. Go out there, be your best self. Embrace your shadow. Give it a hug. Your shadow is just essentially a little kid. Really, all of these tyrants, it's all little kids. The babies need to be held. That's always what I hear at meditation. When I picture sociopaths and NPDs and these tyrants, the baby Voldemorts, and this wicked darkness, it's just like I just keep hearing the babies need to be held. And as a dad, as a parent, yeah, people need some hugs for real. All right, well, let the love in. Keep choosing love. Okay? Stay blessed. Stay golden.